Remember the toughest things that you've ever done, the things that have been the most difficult for you to accomplish? How does it feel? What's it like to do hard things, to do tough things? It's not easy. Duh, that's what it's supposed to be. We are constantly having to be challenged so that we can grow. When we're working out, when we're doing things physically with our body, let's say weightlifting or resistance training in some way, as you start off, it's often with smaller weights. And as that grows, right, as the resistance grows, as you put more and more weight, more and more tension, whatever it is, then it puts more strain on whatever it is that you're working out, right? And that grows. It causes growth. It's the same thing in life. We do difficult things so that we can grow. And through that growth, we grow in a multitude of ways. Through doing difficult things, we grow in the private experience, we grow in the personal experience, we grow in the social experience, and we grow in the professional experience. All experience of life happens as we do hard things. I recently had the opportunity to do a very difficult thing, at least it was for me. There are others that I saw that it wasn't difficult at all. In fact, they were doing things that were far more difficult than I was doing. And it was fun to watch that as well. But what I got to do is with my wife and with several of her friends, I got to climb into and out of the Grand Canyon in one day. Now that's called a rim to rim hike. So we left from the north rim of the Grand Canyon and hiked down into the canyon, across and up the other side of the Grand Canyon in a single day. And we did accomplish it within 24 hours. That was a wonderful thing for us. And it was hard. It was a hard hike. It was hard for many people, some even seasoned hikers. It was very difficult. And then for others, it was an extremely difficult task. All who finished, it was just a wonderful elation. Why? It was an accomplishment. It was something that we were able to accomplish that was hard. It was just hard. In that, there was growth in the private, growth in the personal, growth in the social, growth in the professional experiences of every person who was able to accomplish that task. What a wonderful thing it is that when we go about a difficult thing. So, how? How do we go about a difficult thing? You don't just hike the Grand Canyon, right? You don't just go into the Grand Canyon and come out without conditioning, without doing something to prepare your body, prepare your mind for that particular event. Now, as I said, I saw people who were doing extremely challenging things, rim to rim runners, what they're called rim runners. So they leave at one end of the Grand Canyon and they run into the canyon and run out. Ugh, that's insane, right? And then there are rim to rim runners that go in, out, and back again. Amazing, absolutely amazing. So when we think about challenging ourselves, we don't want to put ourselves up against somebody else because there's always going to be somebody who's going to be able to do more and accomplish more than what we were able to. Know and rest assured that the challenges for us, doing hard things for us, means challenging ourselves, not challenging ourselves against someone else necessarily. Now, it can be that. Competition can provide that for us. But for most people, the challenges of tough things are going to be challenges against ourselves. So how do we go about getting there? Conditioning is one of those. Now, I'm not talking about just physical conditioning. We have to do mental conditioning as well. We have to have the mindset and the body set to allow us to be able to do those hard things, whatever they are. And there are challenges that come in every experience of life. In the private experience, we challenge ourselves against habits that we don't like, traits that we don't care for, perhaps addictions, other things that just get in our way of being able to be all that we're intended to be. In our personal lives, the relationships that we have, are they everything that we want them to be, everything that they could be? Are we everything that we could be in those relationships? Are we giving in every way that we could give to our children, to our spouse, to our close family members? Are we giving? It's a very difficult thing to do, oftentimes. In our social experience, Is our social experience truly aligned to who we are? Is our social experience representative of who and what we want to be? Is our social experience true to who we are? And then in the professional realm, wow, there are so many things there that are just hard to do. Sometimes it's hard to do the work. Sometimes it's hard to just repeat the work and to get it right and to keep at it and keep at it and keep at it. Sometimes it's working with people that we have a challenge with. It's difficult to work with them, or perhaps we're the ones that are difficult to work with. Perhaps we have a challenge that is difficult to assess, a difficult task for us to actually do and accomplish. Sometimes we are in positions of leadership where we have to help other people along the way, where we have to push other people harder perhaps than they wish they could be pushed at that particular moment, but what's needed to accomplish the task. Now, pushing is within the capability of the people that we're actually encouraging to do more, be more, all of those types of things. They have that ability, but are we giving the very best to be able to do that? Are we building others to help them to become more than perhaps we even are within our own industry? Those are all things that are tough or could be hard things. As we consider doing hard things then, one of the most important elements of doing hard things is to break it down, what is called chunking. So as I mentioned earlier, you don't just hike the Grand Canyon, right? You start by conditioning, you start by walking, you start by hiking, you start by doing shorter hikes and then longer hikes, and you increase the degree of difficulty. You find ways to mimic the conditions that you're going to be, going up steps, down steps, and doing hundreds, literally, of flights of stairs per day to be able to condition your body for that particular experience. So you find a way to take this large task, whatever that large task is, and to break it into smaller tasks that we can be effective in actually accomplishing. And then you go about training to the smaller tasks. Don't train to the big task. Train to the smaller tasks and allow those smaller tasks to combine together to help you to be successful in whatever it is that you intend to do. So many people don't do hard things because they have this huge thing in front of them and that stops them from going any further. Sometimes take that huge thing, move it aside where it belongs, and then move on. I knew, for example, that my body was absolutely going to hurt. I knew that it was going to be painful the next day after completing this task. And you know what? I was absolutely right. But do you know what else I knew? I knew that the day after and the day after and the day after that would all get better. And they did. And I resumed my workouts. 4 days later, I was back into my full workout routine and doing what I normally would do. Now, that doesn't mean that it wasn't a challenging task. It was an extremely challenging task for me, but I was able to accomplish it. I had to go through the head games of saying, okay, it's going to hurt, it's going to be painful, you're going to struggle, it's going to be hard. Oh well, life goes on. Get through it, move on. That's exactly what happens, and that allows you to experience to the fullest. Make the most of this day, make the most of this week, make the most of your life. That's what you're here for. That's the opportunity that you and I have, is to just experience the experiences of life. Thank you so much for being with me. I do appreciate it. I'll see you next time on the Primacy Podcast.